On today's Locked On Nationals, we are joined by Bobby Blanco, the massive return of Bobby Blanco from MASNsports.com. And on today's show, we're going to be getting to C.J. Abrams. And is this a make it or break it season for the All-Star shortstop? It might be.
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, check us out. Just again, look up Locked On Nationals wherever you get your pods, whether it's on Apple, Spotify, and of course the video version. So you can see Bobby and I on today's show. That is at YouTube. Just search Locked On Nationals there, and that is where you'll find your daily video content for the Washington Nationals. But we have got a return. Everyone knows Bobby Blanco is like a staple on this show. He has been, he has been on father duty these past few months. So we gave him a little bit of an off season, but we're back. And Bobby, you are a father.
Yeah, I want you to put the word out. We back up.
We back up
on Locked On Nationals. Yeah, man. I was actually just looking up. The last time we did a show together was December 12th of last year. I think you were just moving into your new spot and 3 days later I had a baby.
Yeah. So it was literally just like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
a lot of change.
A lot of change in 3 months. And then right immediately after our last show together. But no, thanks so much for having me back on. I love chat with you about ball, about the Nationals. I'm looking forward to a good a good season, man. Like, this should be an exciting year for the Nats. Hopefully, we've got a lot of good things to talk about this year.
Yeah, we do. And, it's just nice seeing baseball back on our TVs, man. And fortunately enough for you, you were actually down at West Palm Beach here. So you've got some inside skinny there. You kind of get to see all the things in person that maybe others don't get to see. So we're going to have some insight there a little bit later on in the show today. Like, who's going to be the fifth starter at this point? I think it's going to be up for a debate here, but I'm going to see what Bobby has to say about that fifth spot a little bit later on in the show today. But let's start off with C.J. Abrams here, Bobby. And this is a big year for C.J. I think you know that. I think C.J. knows that. I think everybody knows around CJ that this is going to be a make it or break it season for him. At least that's what I think. But what do you think, Bobby?
Oh, make it or break it. I don't know if he can break it just yet. I mean, he's not even arbitration eligible until after this year. So it's like, after this year, he'll be technically halfway through his, rookie deal. I don't know if you break it off with him after this year, even if it goes completely terrible. But I do think it's an important year for CJ. I think that, looking back to last year, we all know how last season ended. The demotion for disciplinary reasons. We know that story. The biggest question mark for the Nationals, outside of holes on the roster coming into spring training, was how would CJ respond to that? It could have gone one of two ways. It could have gone him saying, "Hey, man, this team doesn't respect me. I should never be demoted like that. Like, I'm out. I don't want to be around here anymore. They don't respect me. They don't want me." Or, and this is the way that I think he has responded, "Hey, they were right. They did right by me. They sent me a message. I need to be better. I'm going to use this as motivation for next season." And coming into spring training, I think that's the way he's approached it. I mean, talking to everybody around the club, all the conversations they should have had were had. Everyone's on the same page. CJ, the team, the manager, the general manager, they're all ready to put this behind him. I've been in that clubhouse when it's been uncomfortable. Even this early in the season, in spring training, I've been in that spring training clubhouse when it's uncomfortable. And obviously during the regular season when things are going well, it was not like that at all. And you could not tell that CJ was devoted last year, and it does not feel like he has a second set of eyes on him at all times. It felt very normal. So that's good news. That's first and foremost. I think the good news is that it felt like that was behind them. Now onto his play. I think, yes, this is a big year for him. Again, not make it or break it. I think even if he doesn't play very well, or knock on wood, God forbid, he gets injured or anything, like even if this thing goes sideways for 2025, there's still 3 more years where we can get really good CJ Abrams. But this is a solid year, a year where we probably more than anything just want to see consistency. Over his first 2 seasons, full seasons with the Nationals, not including the like 45 games he played at the end of 2022. You could break each of the last 2 seasons up into quarters. So think about it like a football game, and he had really good second and third quarter. Bad first quarter, bad fourth quarter. Like he started 2023 off kind of slow, sluggish, and then he just took off to end that season, and that carried over to the beginning of last year. Started last year super hot, obviously named an All-Star for the first time, played in the All-Star game, was not just at one point playing at an All-Star level, but possibly an MVP level for this team. And then we know how last year the second half went, and then how it finished. So if he can somehow combine what he did at the end of 2023 and the beginning of 2024 and put that over one full season congruently, like we're looking at a perennial All-Star, possibly an MVP candidate, one of the best players in the league that plays a premium position at shortstop. So while I think this is not a make or break season, I do think that we do need to see some consistency from CJ this year, start to finish. And it doesn't have to be an MVP conversation, doesn't even have to be an All-Star, but just show that, hey, I can put this together for 162. And he's not going to play 162, but you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think like the big discussion around CJ Abrams at this point, at least for me, is that like I think CJ Abrams is going to be the shortstop. Like if someone asked me today, like, is he going to be the national shortstop in 5 years, barring anything that happens in free agency, I would say yes. Like I believe in the talent that he brings. I think he has the potential to be a 2020 guy, which we saw from this past season. And having that speed and also a little bit of power in there, that is just something that if you can marry those 2 talents in today's game, like that is like your dream ball player. Like you can steal bases at a higher rate than anyone that's really ever done outside of Ricky Henderson and maybe a couple other guys. And if you can hit the long ball as well, and you have both those things, especially coming from a premier position like shortstop, that is something that is huge for this Nationals team. So I think like with the make it or break it conversation, like CJ is going to go into the season knowing that, in my opinion, like if he doesn't perform, I don't think the Nationals will just cut loose and just cut the bait and have him go and hit free agency. I don't think that'll be the case. But I do think a lot of added pressure would be on him. Let's say if he has like a 710 OPS, which is fine, but like we know he can do more. And we saw it in the first half this past season where he deserved to be an All-Star, where he was an All-Star, and he was one of the best shortstops, offensively speaking, in the National League. That is the ceiling, and that is kind of what we tasted this past year. And then he completely fell off in the second half. I think he had like a below 600 OPS after the All-Star break. Like it was a bad stretch for CJ all around. Then, of course, as you mentioned earlier, what happened in the final week of the year, whatever. I mean, it happens in baseball. I'm sure you've probably heard your fair share of stories going around, maybe not with the Nationals, but baseball players, when you're out and about all the time, like they go out, man. They have fun. They live their life. So I think with CJ this year, though, Bobby, so are you kind of expecting a big year for the shortstop here? Like, do you think that he is going to replicate what he did in the first half of this past season? Kind of what do you expect for him heading into 2025, though?
I'm so okay, just so since you kind of mentioned him, I have the numbers in front of me. So last year, I'll just go quickly. First half, 15 home runs, 21 doubles, 48 RBIs, hit 268 with an 831 OPS. Second half, only 8 doubles, only 5 home runs, only 17 RBIs, only hit 203, so right above 200.
Yeah.
And OPS of 586, well below 600 OPS. So yeah, night and day difference. And like, I don't know if he can extrapolate what he did in the first half over 162 this year. Like, I think that, again, that's an MVP level production. Like, you're talking about him finishing with, 40 plus doubles, 30 plus home runs, near 100 RBIs, and hitting, almost 270 with an OPS of almost 850. Like that's like outside of Shohei Ohtani hit going 50 and 50. That's like MVP level kind of stuff from a shortstop, and especially if he plays excellent defense. So I don't know if you can extrapolate that over a course of 162. It's really hard to do for anybody. But I do think that is like a good baseline of where he can be on a consistent basis. Like I think that saying that he should get around 40 plus doubles and around 30 homers and hit, around 270 with an OPS of 830 plus every year. I think that can be a given for him. And not to mention the 15 stolen bases, being around 30 stolen bases over a course of a full season. So like, I think that is what CJ Abrams can bring to the table. I do think that for this year, I don't want to put too much pressure on him because I feel like he is feeling a lot of pressure after last year. But I think he's using it as motivation though. Like I can see him just laser focused in for the whole season, kind of go off. And then now we're, when we get to October or November, whenever the end of the season is, and we're looking back and we're like, holy crap, CJ was the MVP of this team. Like not James Wood, not Dylan Cruz. It was CJ Abrams who put his stamp and no, this is my team really. James and Dylan are great. This is my team. I'm putting them on my back and I'm going to be the shortstop of the future. I think that's more of a possibility than the latter, like you said, of we're having some serious question marks about, what his ceiling is at the end of this season.
Yeah. And you know what? And things that we didn't even talk about, Bobby, is that with CJ Abrams, his defense, that is something that he does have to improve on. I mean, he's acknowledged it. Davey Martinez has acknowledged it. I mean, you see it. I mean, you watch all the games too, Bobby. He makes the crazy plays. Yeah. And then it's the routine plays. He'll still just have silly mess ups. But then you think to yourself, well, he was 23 years old last year. And this guy was a starting shortstop in Major League Baseball for it was not a contending team. It was the worst team in baseball in 2022. But he was a 21-year-old. The guy could just start legally drinking, and it was starting as a Major League shortstop and wasn't doing that bad. It's an incredible run for CJ. I think he's going to have a big year here, Bobby. But there are more question marks surrounding this Nationals team. And I think the biggest one as of right now is what happens with that fifth starter spot. There are some things that we're going to have to discuss here. I want your opinion on it. But before we get into it, Bobby, I got to tell everyone about our new friends over at Monarch Money. And for every check your bank account and wonder, and you just look at it and you're like, where did all my money go? Between dining out and online shopping and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center, and you can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. And when I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery. Now I budget smarter and save even more money. And of course, instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. Now we get back into it with Bobby Blanco from MASNsports.com. If you haven't heard, new father, Bobby Blanco here. So got to put some respect on that name. But
my Lord.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Baby Blanco held the Commanders. I mean, was undefeated.
Hey, I'll take it. He had a better season or half a season than I have my entire life. So
seriously, Baby Blanco was spoiled, but hey, maybe the Nationals could get spoiled now. So we'll see what happens. But with the Nationals fifth starting spot here, Bobby, I mean, I think we all know it's Mackenzie Gore, Jake Irvin, Michael Soroka, Trevor Williams, and then that fifth spot, it's DJ Hers or it's Mitchell Parker. What are your thoughts on the fifth spot as of right now?
So you're just eliminating Shinosuke Ogasawara altogether?
I am. I've seen enough on him.
I think that's let's start right there real quick. I think that's fair at this point. entering camp, it was between the three of them. I think
Yeah.
what we've seen from Ogasawara is he's still got some adjustments and I guess developing to do in terms of coming over from Japan and playing in the United States. So, yeah, I would agree right there. Like, no offense to Shinosuke or Shin as they call him, but I would think that unless he just completely flips the switch over the second half of camp, which I don't foresee anyone doing, it's hard to do. I think we kind of can see that he probably needs to start the season on AAA. But between DJ and Mitchell, at the beginning of camp, I would have said, and I still kind of believe this, like, I think if all things are even going into opening day, give the edge to DJ Hers. I think he has the higher ceiling between the two. I think his stuff is just better. I think we saw last year, he was overall pretty good, and so was Mitchell. But his best, like DJ's best, was by far way better than Mitchell's best. Like, and that's just not a shot at Mitchell. That's just the way it is. I'm sorry. Like, can be an electric starting pitcher for this team. He's got crazy stuff. If he hones in and commands the strike zone better, I mean, he also is still so young, so we still have some developing to do. But the Nationals might have, Mike Rizzo might have come away with another steal in the Jamier Candelario trade by getting this guy for 2 months of Jamier playing in Chicago with the Cubs. I think DJ can be, a staple in this rotation for years to come because he's so good. The problem is not the problem, but like as it relates to this conversation, he just hasn't shown it just yet. I mean, he is showing kind of his inexperience in spring training. And I know we don't want to put a lot of weight into spring training numbers, but if you're looking at the numbers, Mitchell has just been a little more consistent. And that might be due to he just has more experience than DJ. He has more experience at AAA. He obviously has more major league experience. So I think right now, like if you're asking me who I would put to opening day, I would probably want to see DJ start in the majors over Mitchell. But I think Mitchell has a slight edge right now as we stand in camp just because his results have been better. And I think that's more so because of his experience.
Yeah, and I think you painted a beautiful picture there, Bobby, because that's really what I thought. And really, honestly, I would even go as far to say that like DJ Hurst probably has the second highest ceiling behind Mackenzie Gore. Like that's how high I am on DJ Hurst. And he's really good.
Yeah.
But so far, like if the Nationals were to have a true competition and you're just going to go by results in spring training, like I don't really know if they've openly said it at this point, but I think we all know that, yeah, like Parker and Hers and Shin at one point, they're all in the discussion to be that fifth starter. So if you're going in with a true competition at this point in the middle of March, you're probably going to lean towards Parker just because he has looked better. And I think, like you mentioned, the ceiling of DJ Hers, like I totally agree. CJ Hers, when he is at his best, I mean, maybe Mackenzie Gore is better than him when Gore is at his best, but that's really it. And we saw it this past season. Like we saw the best from DJ Hers. And I even went as far to say that he was our best starting pitcher in the second half, really from August on. He put up some great starts. And even in the middle of the summer, he looked really good also. So with this conversation, like I would want to see DJ Hers. And I think if the Nationals were smart, they would probably go with DJ Hers because they have seen it before. They have seen him at his best, and they do know that his stuff is really good. And if you look at the beginning of last year in Rochester, the guy did not start off well. Like I remember thinking, like, why the heck are we bringing him up? Like he is not doing well in AAA. Well, that did not matter. He came up in some majors. And so I've kind of floated this round, Bobby, that like maybe DJ is just a big game pitcher. Like maybe he just kind of needs to get some of the funk out, and spring training and early on in the season just is not for him. And maybe that's the case. That's kind of wishful thinking at this point. But if you are really all in on DJ Hers, which I do think the Nationals are, then you should have him as your fifth starter. And even over Mitchell Parker, like Parker has looked pretty good. Like he's been better than Hers at this point. But again, Parker's going to get his opportunity. And certainly if Hers gets sent down to AAA or gets put in the bullpen, they're going to be a starter at one point. Both of those guys will be in the rotation because injuries happen. Maybe Soroka gets hurt again. Who knows? Or Trevor Williams, who's had injury history here recently. But at this point, Bobby, like that is the biggest storyline for me. And I want to see DJ Hers. I've talked a lot about him this offseason. I said that this guy is going to be really good. He's going to be in this rotation for the next 5+ years. And I've totally bought in on him. And so if he has a disappointing spring training, I don't think it's going to be make or break. Like this guy is still very young in baseball terms. He is still a puppy in Major League Baseball. But like, I don't know. It'd be pretty discouraging though to see that because he showed so much this past season. And I believe in DJ Hers as being a very good starting pitcher and just being a very good pitcher overall. And I do think he is better than Mitchell Parker at this point.
Yeah, I don't think there's any reason to be discouraged about DJ right now. I think everyone should still have really high hopes for him moving forward because of everything we saw last year. Everyone with the Nationals still love him and still think the world of him and still think his ceiling, like you said, is really high. Like I would put it up there along, like you said, with McKenzie. I think Jake proved that his ceiling can be pretty high too. Jake Irvin, as you know, coming from a mid to low level prospect, and now looking at a guy that could be your number 2 starter for the future. But that's a different conversation. I like your point about DJ possibly being a big game guy. Like, we've seen big game guys around here, obviously Max Scherzer, Steven Strasburg. Mackenzie Gore, I think, is one of them actually too. And sure, maybe DJ, maybe DJ is one of those too, and spring training is not for him. I think some of the numbers that I look at right now, again, try not to put too much weight in spring training numbers, but like to me, they're not the numbers that show that he's not getting up for it. It's a little more concerning than that. Like DJ over his 3 outings, 2 starts, has given up 8 runs, 6 earned. Mitchell Parker has given up 4 runs, 2 home runs, by the way. DJ has only struck out 3 and walked 7. Mitchell, no walks, 7 strikeouts. I think right there just kind of shows the difference in their maturity at this point. Like, it's not that DJ is not getting up. He might be getting like 2 up for these spring training games, and that's why he can't just hone in onto the strike zone. I think just Mitchell having a little more maturity and experience can kind of settle in. Again, not take too much. If DJ had 8 strikeouts now to only a couple of walks, but had given up a bunch of runs and home runs, I would be like, don't worry. He's throwing strikes. That's all that matters at this point. He's not throwing strikes though. That's the thing. That's what makes me a little more concerned about DJ than anything, is that he's not getting the ball over the middle of the plate. If he was getting lit up right now, I could be like, don't worry. He's throwing strikes. That's what they want. He's all over the place right now. So I can't tell if he's getting too amped for spring training games or just needs a little more refinement because he is still so fresh. I mean, he technically is only 1 year younger than Mitchell, but he just hasn't been at the upper levels of the minor leagues and the major leagues as long as Mitchell has.
Yeah, and you know what? Like you said it best there, because command has been an issue for DJ Hers. I mean, we saw a little bit this past season when he'd walk 4 guys in 2 innings. It'd be like, oh my God, he does not have it. But then all of a sudden,
2 outs too, by the way, which is not good.
Yeah, exactly. So he has walked a ton of batters this spring, but also the encouraging part of it also is that it really hasn't been that loud of contact. So it's again, it's there. It's we get to see some of it, but then some things, I think with the command, as you were pointing out there, that's kind of what holds him back.
The command's not loud because it's not over the plate.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's good. Yeah. You're not really giving batters an opportunity to just bolt one. So I guess you are right. So, but anyways, it sounds like we're both on the same page there. We both think DJ Hers could be really good. But if it's a true competition, then it's going to be Mitchell Parker at this point, just simply based on results. So
I also think there's no shame in DJ starting the season in AAA. And then,
no, it's not.
I mean, either one of them really. I think this is a good problem for the Nationals to have, and quite frankly, it's not one they've had since 2019. So if DJ has to start at AAA and get some more refinement, get some more development, that's okay. If his major league season doesn't start until May, I think that's fine. If he takes off from there, then we're not talking about this ever again.
Of course. And yeah, you brought up a great point there. Like, this is a great problem to have. I am more than happy to discuss this for 5 days a week for the next few weeks here as spring training rolls on. But Bobby, you're down in West Palm Beach. I do want to talk a little bit more about pitching, but also kind of want to get some of your takeaways, maybe things that like we do not see who are back at home here. So I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit there, but I'm going to give you the next minute to think about that because I'm going to tell everybody about my friends over at Wonderful Pistachios. So are you looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. And Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, give you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller for longer. And personally, I love the no shells variety. It's the perfect grab and go snack for busy days, whether I'm snacking at my desk or on a road trip or just need a quick protein boost. They're always my go-to. And if you love cracking open every shell for that satisfying crunch, the end shell options are a classic favorite. So you can get snacking and get cracking with a snack that packs a protein punch. Just visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. So we get back into it with Bobby Blanco from massinsports.com. And Bobby was down there for roughly about a week and a half in West Palm Beach. Got to talk with some Washington Nationals. We were reading the work over at massinsports.com. So Bobby, as I was saying, got you some time to research a little bit and kind of get back into your notes there. But what were like some of your takeaways, man? Like, what did you see? What did you notice? Just tell us some takeaways from West Palm.
I think one of the main ones is we've talked every year for the past, since 2021, since they started doing this rebuild, about development, progress, teaching. Davey Martinez for the past 2 years especially in spring training, just preached like, hey, I'm here to teach. He was more hands-on than ever last year. And I think even the spring, and more so than the spring prior, where he was more hands-on than ever, of coaching and teaching these young guys and really developing personal relationships with the young prospects. This year, it's more of a message of winning. Like, no, we're here to win. I think the way he addressed the team was like, everyone thinks we're the next up and coming team. Well, we're here now. Like, we got to show that we're here. It's no longer about teaching. It's no longer about development. It is about winning ball games. So that, my first and foremost, was like my big kind of overall. And the players have bought into that. Like, no one in that locker, like everyone before, it would be like, yeah, like we know like what we're doing here. We know the process. We trust the long. No, everyone's in there is like, no. This is like we think we have a good ball club here. We think we can win some ball games. We can surprise some people. Now that might just be like your regular spring training hearsay
speak.
Right. But it did feel like they kind of really believe it. And the guys that they brought in seem to be meshing well with the young guys who are the new core. It was good. Like Mackenzie Gore's locker is now next to Michael Soroka and Lucas Sims and Kyle Finnegan after he resigned. So like, they're meshing pretty well down there, which is always what you want to hear, no matter the expectations for a team going into spring training. And then my other observations, I think I'm going to give you 3 guys to keep an eye on for the rest of spring training. I'm not saying these guys are going to make the team, although I think this one guy, the guy I'm going to start with, I think actually can make the team and will make the team. Orlando Revolta.
Yeah.
And I think this guy is going to be a big arm for this team coming out of the bullpen. 10 strikeouts this spring, only 3 walks, only 1 unearned run charged to him in over 7 innings. I think he's pitched close to
7 1/3. Yeah.
7 1/3. Yeah. One of the most innings that, outside of like long relievers in extended games, have pitched in starters. I think this guy can bounce back after kind of a rocky introduction to the majors last year with the Nats, and be a big arm for them. He's a big presence. I don't know if you guys caught, I think it was Spencer Nussbaum over at the Post. He had an early article about this is the tallest team in baseball. This is one of the biggest teams in baseball. And that starts with some of these. These are big, athletic, strong pitchers, both in starters and in the bullpen. So I like Revolta. I think he could be a interesting arm out of the pen. In that same note, y'all remember Cole Henry?
Yeah.
Anyone remember Cole Henry out there? Former, what was it? second round pick out of LSU.
Second round pick in 2020. Oh yeah.
After Cade Cavalli, obviously had issues with thoracic outlet syndrome, trying to bounce back from that for a couple of years now, has now fully committed to being a reliever, not a starter. 9 strikeouts, no walks, no earned runs in 4 2/3 innings so far this spring. I don't think he makes the team out of camp, but if he can be anything for this club moving forward, huge win for both him and the franchise, just for everything they've gone through.
Oh yeah.
For him off the field and injury wise, and then also for them in terms of having a rough draft history. Salvaging him as some sort of go-to bullpen arm down the line will be sick. And then, of course, the one name that everyone wants to talk about in spring outside of James Wood and Dylan Cruz, Bobby Barrels, Robert Hassel III, again tearing it up. I had a feature on him this morning on massinsports.com or earlier this week, talking about, he has used all these injuries as motivation. Guys have sometimes, just after everything that Robert has gone through, you would see players be like, all right, I can't do this anymore. Like, it's just not for me. I can't play. I'm going to quit. I can't stay healthy. Robert has taken it as motivation. You can see it in his eyes. You can see it on the field. You can see it in his play. He leads this team in OPS this spring. He's batting over 400. Again, try not to put too much weight into spring training numbers, but when he keeps producing like this every spring, you kind of have to take notice. And it's with this guy, it's always been, can he stay healthy? And if he can, I don't think he will be the forgotten prospect anymore. I think he will be a guy for them. Alex Call left the game early the other day with back spasms. Does that open up a spot as the 4th outfielder? I think they're going to want Robert to play every day at AAA first. He's only got a taste of that last year, but I think, like we expect Brady House to maybe make his major league debut this year, I think Robert is due for a breakout. Given health, he thinks so too. And he picked up some hitting tips from CJ Abrams that seemed to be working for him. So you can check that out at massinsports.com too. But yeah, I think Robert is due, if he can stay healthy, to finally burst onto the scene and show what he can do as an all-around ball player. So those are kind of my 3 guys.
No, you mentioned it because, I've been talking a lot about them. I'll be heading down to spring training actually today, technically. And for, yes, some people out there, you're like, what? I know I'm on a plane right now, actually, but no, I'm not, because I'm here recording Locked On Nationals. You guys don't need to know the secrets here, but yeah, I've talked about Orlando Revolta, and we have gone a little bit over here, Bobby, but I've talked a lot about Robert Hassel III so far. I think you said it perfectly there. Like, this guy still has the potential to be a very good major leaguer, and you're starting to see it against major league talent in spring training for the 2nd straight year. If he can stay healthy, he will be good. But you mentioned Orlando Revolta real quick. I do want to just kind of throw this around. Like, I don't expect this at all, but a listener actually commented the other day and was like, I think he's going to be like the next Mountain, like what Felix Bautista is with the Orioles. Like, he's like, I think this guy is going to be great. And I'm like, you know what? I think he's going to be great. I'm not going to put him in that level just yet, but like, it is hard to ignore what this guy has done so far.
What if he's the next Yennier Cano and and Harlan Susana is the next Mountain?
That would be great. That would be awesome.
That's a good 1-2 punch right there. Those are 2
6'7"
huge guys with some electric fastballs.
Yeah, no, it's awesome, man. And of course, Bobby, you are awesome as well, my guy. So you guys can catch Bobby's work over at massinsports.com. You can check him out on Twitter at Bobby_Blanco. And of course, always appreciate the time, Bobby.
Hey, Ryan, thanks so much for having me back on. Looking forward to another full season of talking baseball, talking Nats baseball with you. I really appreciate the time.
Of course, man. Of course. And this will not be the last time, but that is Bobby. I'm Ryan. We will catch you on the flip side. Have a good one. Go Nats.